Batman Arkham City is the greatest example in the modern landscape of today of how gaming should ever be done. This game, man, so after finishing this, well, of course, also as we were playing it, I cannot stop. Why is it? How are cat ears, by the way? How's that the same as bat ears? How are they doing that? Anyways, I don't buy it through the shadow, but doesn't matter. This chick's freaking hot, bro. The amount of praise I had to give this game as we were playing it, and you look at, like, again with this game too, women are just done right. They're all freaking hot in this game. Catwoman, most of all, is absolutely sexy. And this is something that you just don't see anymore in gaming. We have to be depraved nowadays. We are not allowed to look at, right, attractive women. Women, nowadays, they have to look like men. And they have to behave as men, and they also have to aspire towards male goals, intentions, pursuits, whatever it is. By the way, this is peak Catwoman. Her entire design in this game is flawless. And just how freaking hot she is too. Oh my word. And Batman, bro, Batman looks freaking good. You know, in all of these games, Batman looks freaking amazing. But specifically in this game, just like the one that comes after it and the one previous, Batman just looks freaking good. It is the peak design for Batman. And quite honestly, all of the characters in this game are just designed terrifically to compose of their character and who they actually are. You know, Cobblepot, he has pretty much cut into his eye socket a little bit, an eyeglass. And that says something about his character, and that says something about his background. I mean, that is passive world building, passive storytelling, doing those sorts of things. The writing, dude, at the start of this freaking game, by the way, how they set up the game, how they set up the events, how they set up the entire story, and all the stakes going on is terrific. You know, you start out in the prison, right? You start out with the DLC. By the way, freaking Vicky Vale, she's also freaking hot. I mean, just all the women in this game, they look their best ever in the Arkham series, and they're all freaking hot. Look at Vicky Vale, bro. She has a trench coat on, and you know this chick's freaking packing. You know, and by the way, great cameo right there, Bruce Wayne. Like, to start off the game, that's the first impression. He's just passing by this hot reporter lady, right? Some chick. And he just sits there and he's like, you know, millionaires are so last year or whatever. And it just shows like the cocky attitude of Bruce Wayne. It's setting up the tone of Gotham, setting up the tone of Bruce Wayne, of Batman, of all of these characters. How they throw at your face all these different characters as the game's starting is so well done. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is gaming with a cinematic appeal. And this is something that I don't really ever try to say is important in gaming, but it's way better than whatever the heck we're getting now, right? Any way that you can tell a good story is how you should and ought to tell a good story. But this game, bro, is so freaking good. The way that they cinematically set up by the way, nowadays, nothing is cinematic. Everything's freaking Tumblr, Redditor, freaking logic and autism everywhere. What we are getting nowadays is so immature compared to what we used to get. And everything was cinematic. And now, we don't get anything like this today. This is so cinematic. Look at the pacing of the story. Look at how they set up all the conflict, all the scenarios. This is Hugo Strange right here. This is a great way to introduce him through just all the events happening in the story. You know, if I wanted to really nitpick this apart, could I say there's a better way to do it? Sure. But it does not matter because the way it's done here is so well done. This is a masterclass in storytelling, in writing, in the way that you set up characters, the pacing of the beginning. The story, dude, I have some huge critiques later on, right? Later on in the story, one of the issues I have is that the motivations of characters are not well fleshed out by the end of the game. Batman does not really explain his positions very well. Hugo does not explain his positions very well. Even in some way Joker, but honestly, less so on Joker. Joker does explain his position away a lot better. And again, by the way, just great there's a guy behind the door, all that. I mean, just the way that they set up everything, the amount of immersion, right? The fact that, I mean, this guy's freaking wrecking Batman, let's be honest. Jeez. Bruce Wayne, but still. It's so well done, bro. And then the inmates here. But again, later in the game, it's just that the villains and all their motivations, for whatever reason, they just didn't really flesh it out as much as they really should have and could have. Joker was the most fleshed out one, but they didn't spend enough time in this game with Joker, if I'm being honest. That's, that's Black Mask? Yeah, that's pretty, yeah, that's a cool cameo. It's so well done, man. I seriously, just seeing the beginning of the game is worthy of the price of admission, right? Paying $60 for this game is worth it. When you just experience the beginning of the game, it's so immersed into Gotham. By the way, the thugs in this game are also great. And it's all their little dialogue bits. There's so much work that was put into this game. They literally gave so much of a crap about so many dialogue lines that you can skip over. There are dialogue lines that you can just completely ignore. But it's so well made. The thugs are great to listen to, man. They say so many things all throughout the game. They're funny to listen to. They're immersive to listen to. They're not like the pansy thugs that we listen to nowadays in gaming, right? If you listen, by the way, all the thugs, they're all men. Of course, they're freaking thugs. Of course they're men. But nowadays, guess what, right? We have egalitarianism, so we have to make all the thugs, we have to make them women, of course, women and men, which is absolutely ridiculous. We all know that no woman is going to be a thug, and especially in the way that you see in this game, right? You don't believe a bunch of inmates in a freaking asylum are going to be both men and women. If they were, right, how much copulation do you think is going to go on in that scenario, and how much forced copulation? We all know how that's going to go. It's ridiculous. Gotham Knights, you got games now like Suicide Squad, just making all the guards and making all the thugs these freaking egalitarian paragons. No, it takes you out of the world, takes you out of the immersion. So freaking stupid what we get nowadays. There's no realism to it, and therefore there's no story. The only way a story can exist. And little things like that. Dude, I could pick apart this game. There's so many little things that they do that's so well done. The entire execution for the start of this game is so well done. Cobblepot right there, that's a great... Again, the way that they just express all the characters. You know these characters for like 5 seconds. You already know everything you need to know. They set it up so well. And they're characterized differently. They're not all the same person, right? This was not written by a freaking Redditor. This wasn't written by some freaking soy boy modern loser like we get nowadays. It wasn't written by some seething feminist female. This was written by men, and this game was made by predominantly men. You can see all across. And as I said, the thugs are so terrifically executed. They speak like thugs, they think like thugs, they say things that nowadays is problematic, right? Oh my gosh, it's intolerable if we have a character that's masculine or male, right? Oh my gosh, it's intolerable. Oh my gosh, it's problematic. Oh my gosh, it's... By the way, the breaking of the cuffs right there, freaking awesome. Again, there's so many little details that I could go on about. It's so well done, dude. This game is so well done. And nowadays, things that they would call these freaking losers with jobs, these freaking childish degenerates with jobs, these freaking... I mean, it's these simpletons of civilization. What they say to destroy the gaming industry, they say, and they do everything in their power to pressure these developers and saying, oh, this is problematic. Oh, this is toxic. Oh, this is corrosive. This is exactly what you pay money for. What we get in this game is exactly what you pay money for. This is when gaming was done right. This is when gaming earned your dollar. They packed within this game layers upon layers of quality. And we don't get this layers upon layers of quality anymore. Again, the thugs are a character in this game. They're not just NPCs. They put so much work into the dialogue, and you can skip all over it, right? You'll hear over the intercom of Batman surveillance of the thugs talking. you can just keep running around and completely skip all of that. But there's so much crap that's going on presently in the story that they'll talk about that you will never hear again if you keep going in the story. The amount of villains that they jam-pack into this game, also great, also terrifically executed. The way that they place all the villains into this game is well done. There are, there's some weird, it's kind of silly things, right? One of the things noticeably is that I notice a lot of cops in this game are black, and I also noticed that they made different. So what they did in Arkham Asylum, right, is that they made the thugs, they made them equally white and black, right? God forbid we offend anybody on that. There's subtle wokeness, but it's, again, this game is largely non-woke, and this is back when games were made by men, right? The women are freaking hot. Let me make that point right now. The women are freaking sexy in this game. Talia al Ghul, freaking hot, right? It's like, I get it. I get why Batman wants to tap that. Catwoman is probably one of the sexiest women we've ever seen in gaming in this game.
It's Batman! What the hell?
Sorry to disappoint you, boys.
Gosh. Holy. Frick. Poison Ivy, I'm not crazy about her, but she's hot still, all the same. The women in this game are just freaking hot. Harley Quinn, bro, she's freaking hot. Honestly, she's an upgrade. She's an absolute upgrade from the last game. She looks great. In so many ways, she looks great. Her outfit, in a lot of ways, is iconic. Look at that. Her pants. Where's her blonde hair? She colored it? Her pants. She's so freaking attractive. Oh my gosh. Joker, of course, he looks great in this game for, everything in regards to when he looks healthy, and also even when he looks, bro, the freaking Batsuit. God, it's so good. Long ears is Batman. This is so good. It's not too long, not too short. When it's stubby, he looks like a freaking, a dope. But frick, the suit is so good. You just gotta take a moment to take it in. It's so freaking good. And again, the thugs in this game, they say things that nowadays all these freaking woke tards, they don't make their thugs say, and they do make their thugs, they say a whole bunch of edgy stuff. That's what gaming used to be. That's how these freaking, villains, that's how they used to be written. They weren't afraid to say things that were edgy, offensive, and it made you immersed, and it added to the quality of the experience. This was gaming done right in so many ways on just the layer of the story. And then there's so many dialogue lines. There's broadcasts in this game that you can use through the cryptographic sequencer that you can listen in on, that gives you a little bit of lore that you don't have to listen to, but it expands upon the lore. It's so great. It's so good, man. There's so much that you can listen to, and it's every moment that you spend with this game, they don't want you to be bored. They don't want you to be wasting your time. This is such a tight experience, especially for being an open world game. Now, of course, it's not huge. The open world is not big, but it's such a contained experience despite it being open world. And there's so much personality too to the world of Gotham. You just don't see that in games anymore. Gotham Knights, what an absolute joke. And again, you can look at a bunch of other games outside of whatever Rocksteady is making. The writing is also great. Everyone is written with a mature lens, a mature focus, right? No one's an emotional, blubbering idiot like we get nowadays, right? They don't over prioritize their emotions, or social justice this, or I don't want to hurt your feelings that. They don't do all this stupid crap. What we get in this game, everyone speaks like an adult, something we don't get anymore. They speak like they're mature, and they speak like there's a purpose for speaking. So nowadays we just have children writing our stories. Nowadays characters just speak like children. All the writers of today have destroyed storytelling. They don't deserve a single penny that they've ever been paid for doing their work. And one more time, gaming was done right when it was what? When it was primarily developed and written by men. This was a labor of love, this game. The people who made this, they did not have contempt, they did not have envy or jealousy for the IP of Batman. These were men who loved Batman. 3 specific writers as far as I understand. Those guys did such a great job with this game. And it's such a shame of where gaming has gotten to at this point. So let's talk a little bit about the combat too. Combat is great. You feel like Batman. The Batman Arkham games combat is iconic. This is combat that is so unique to itself. Really, almost nothing like it before its time. Some games did something similar, but nothing exact. It's so freaking good. And by the way, there's so many posters throughout this game that also very immersive. This is just a masterclass in game design. The level design is also great. Going through the levels is like going through mini puzzles, and they're not annoying. They're just there to get you thinking. They're there to keep you engaged. Something a lot of games don't do anymore. A lot of level design is freaking boring. Yeah, again, this chick is freaking hot. Something we don't get in gaming anymore. Freaking women this freaking hot. And they do everything they can, right, to sexualize her. It's so freaking amazing, man. This is exactly what gaming ought to be. Gaming is made for men, and this is exactly what it should be. Sexy women everywhere, and this is what gaming used to be. It used to be sexy women everywhere. Masculine men. The men don't look like twinks. Look at this guy, right? Look at Two-Face. He looks like a freaking man. He acts like a man. The writing is so good because they're in the moment. They're immersed in the world they're in, and they think and they speak like adults. They don't just rattle off illogical things. And if I were showing you a modern game that we get nowadays, you have so many characters that just rattle off meaningless, stupid crap. So back to the combat. Combat is just so well done. You feel like Batman. It's fast. It's fluid. You have so many gadgets in your arsenal that you can use. And all of the gadgets that you can use in your arsenal, it's all different ways to experiment with the combat. So there's multiple ways to like stun or incapacitate temporarily in the combat the thugs or whoever the heck it is that you're fighting. And you have tools within how Batman fights within himself, right? You can press B button on Xbox and you can stun them and then do a series of multiple attacks, multiple punches. And it's so well done, this whole combat. It's fun, it's engaging. You have this combo that you're building up. The counter system is also terrific, right? It's just every second you're being fought back against by the villains, by the thugs. And it's every second that you have a tool in your arsenal to in some way fight back at them, right? Or to counter attack them, because later in the game, you also have thugs with shields, thugs with armor. They upgrade the thugs in this game, and they made this game tougher than the previous game. So there's more to interact with. There's more to do. There's much more engaging gameplay here, and there's more that you can do to outsmart the the game itself, or we could say in some way the AI. It's so well made. It's challenging just enough, and it's fun just enough. So, that's the story. That's the combat. Again, the world design is great. You feel like you're in Gotham. You feel like they put love and care into every single little element of the world. And they even do things to create passive world building through the world, right? In areas that are Joker themed. Golly, dude, this freaking chick is so hot. Again, this is... Women like Catwoman need to be in freaking every single game. It's insane. And by the way, here's something to say, by the way. Okay, let's finish off the point about, and the camera angles on Catwoman. Lord have mercy. The camera angles are so freaking good in every freaking scene. I freaking love. I love this game. Like, almost, this is one of the sexiest games to exist. But the level design, man, there are posters, right, in the Joker themed areas with a bunch of kisses on it, right? And that's passive world building to just show how obsessed Harley Quinn is with the Joker. And that's the thing I have to say. So the women in this game, right? The men are freaking masculine. By the way, legendary performances by all the voice actors and actresses. They all do a great job. Selena Kyle, her voice actress, did a great job of making Selena sound sexy and flirtatious. She's just passively hot at all times. Harley Quinn's voice actress did a great job doing Harley. For the longest time, for some reason, I thought that the voice actress did Tifa. I don't know why. And I've recently come to learn that Harley Quinn is not voiced by the same voice actress. for Tifa. It's freaking, I don't know how I screwed that up. That's an off note. Legendary performances, though, by everybody. And again, even the thugs have great voice actors, you know? So this game was done in so many great ways. And so the men are masculine in this game. They're not deconstructed in any way like we get nowadays. And the other thing we have to bring up, right, as I was saying, the women. Catwoman, for one, she does not talk down to Batman. She's not condescending towards Batman. She is not a feminist. You know, she's just a sexy chick that, you know, she's a little bit, you know, there's elements of independence, but it's not really independence. So she's just, I don't have a good word for it. So I don't know if saying strong-willed is the right way to put it, but you know what? I could say something at a later date about that. Catwoman is so well done, though. She is very effeminate, though, as a woman. She is alluring. She's seductive. She's everything that Catwoman is meant to be. And again, she's feminine, right? She doesn't try to battle against any male character's masculinity. She's not trying to be a man. She's not like what we have nowadays is women. We have a bunch of women who are aspiring men. That's what we get nowadays for a lot of female characters. We don't have femininity. And the point of Catwoman is not that she's super strong. She's elusive, right? Obviously, we know that in real life, she would get freaking destroyed by the thugs in this world. But again, the way that they go about Catwoman's character, making her elusive, they maintain all of her femininity. They don't do anything to deconstruct that, which is great. So they honored what it is that makes anyone love Catwoman's character. And again, the thing is too, is that the way that she jokes with Batman, and the way that she communicates with Batman, and the way that she tests Batman is from a feminine mindset, but also it's to innately flirt with Batman and to innately not disrespect Batman. And this is one of the biggest issues, right? Nowadays, we write women to one-up men. We write women nowadays to compete with and to contest men. In this game, women come from the perspective, the way that they're written, is much like, right? They're cooperative with men. They look up to the man. They're supportive of the male character, right? Catwoman doesn't speak to Batman to look down on him. She speaks to him in a way where she looks up to him. She respects him. And even the way that she talks to Two-Face, she doesn't directly, even though they have a very hostile relationship, she speaks to Two-Face in a way where she's subversively coy, right? She's not aggressive towards Two-Face. She just makes jokes towards him, and she's a little bit coy, or she makes like under the hood snide remarks towards him. But she doesn't combat Two-Face's aggression and his sense of masculinity with her own sense of masculinity, right? She combats his masculinity with her femininity. And I'm not saying, of course, that it's like perfect or whatever. I'm not saying that women should exactly be back-talking or whatever. That's a whole other conversation. I'm not saying that that's a whole other conversation, right? Like, what should you mirror? But when we're talking about who are the characters, right? Because that's a whole other conversation. Who should you mimic, right? Who should you be more like, whatever? What kind of character should you look up to? But the characters are so well written for who they themselves are. They're so authentic towards their core. I don't know if you run into Black Mask in this game, by the way. Outside of the beginning of the game, but yeah. And by the way, look at the freaking outfit of Catwoman, bro. The outfits of all the characters are so great in this game, but specifically Catwoman, right? Just even her outfit, the zipper going all the way down to the freaking crotch. They had an entire idea, and even the straps. Her outfit for one looks terrific, just all together. But the entire design, the entire allure of Catwoman's sexuality, of her attractiveness, they did such a great job with her. So that's Catwoman, though. She is so well written. She is written with a mature lens, a mature outlook, a mature perspective. And again, she's not written to derail any of the male characters' masculinity, but instead, right, she is in it's not really cooperation, but she accommodates their masculinity through being effeminate, despite being the kind of personality that she is, right? How coy she is, how under the hood, snide she can be. There's a better word than snide, but that's a replacement for a better word. And then Harley Quinn, right? Harley Quinn is, right, nowadays, her character is absolutely destroyed. Harley Quinn is not who Harley Quinn ever was meant to be. It's not who Harley Quinn is. She's not a feminist. We have completely transformed her character nowadays into a feminist icon, into a feminist characterization or archetype. That is never what Harley Quinn is. Her modern character is so contemptible compared to what she's actually, whatever Harley Quinn's character has always been, was always feminine. And that is what we don't get anymore with Harley's character. She's now, right, Miss Independent, Miss trying to be like a man, she's basically Joker in a female's body. And they're ever so slowly just trying to make her look more and more like a man, giving her a wider and wider jaw. In this game, she's freaking hot. And what is Harley's character, right? By the way, in this game and the previous game, Harley is silly. She's coy in her own way. She's maniacal feminine. She's not maniacal masculine, right? Maniacal masculine is far more destructive. Maniacal feminine, right? It's just a little bit more unstable, a little bit more wild. But she's so silly. She makes these little jokes that are funny. I love her freaking character in Arkham Asylum and this game. Because she's so effeminate, even though she's, criminal in her own way. And of course, a part of Harley's character, right? She's not a feminist. What's a part of her character? She is not intelligent. They make a statement within this game, and they make a statement within the previous game in Arkham Asylum to make the constant point that Harley is not that bright. And that's the point of Harley. She's not that smart. And that's a part of her femininity. And of course, Joker, right? He offsets her intelligence. Joker is a freaking mastermind. That's the entire idea of Joker. And what is Joker to Harley? He's a pimp, and she is his freaking hoe. That's their entire relationship. And it's so well done in the previous game. It's so well done here. Harley is wrapped around the freaking finger of Joker. She is so obsessed with him. And that is exactly what a feminine character, a female character, is to be. Is to be a woman that her entire world revolves around the man that she is attached to. And it's so well done. I freaking love her character. She's not a bore to listen to. She's not annoying to listen to. She doesn't vex you constantly, trying to be like a man. Like, oh, bro, I can beat Batman. I could do this stuff. I can do that. She's not always trying to achieve any level of machismo. She jokes around with Batman. She's silly. She's coy. She's feminine, bro. Similar in a way that Catwoman is feminine. She's not aggressive, right? She's very passive in a lot of things that she does and who she is. The voice actress did a great job for her. The entire performance on Harley was great. They don't do anything to try and make Harley look strong. They make so many jokes throughout the game with Harley. And there's so many ways where it's like, oh, like nowadays, super problematic. Is exactly what the freaking losers with jobs, the childish degenerates with jobs, they would have said was problematic. Oh, how dare you have this in the game? But it's exactly what made Harley a female character, a feminine character, a fun character. Again, she was fun, she was silly, she was fun to listen to. She was so well done in this game, man. And there's so many little scenes. And there's so many little jokes. And there's so many ways that they express her and Joker's relationship, right? And again, Joker is the pimp of Harley. So, right? She gets off to like any kind of maniacal behavior of Joker. In other ways, you can also say that she gets off, though, to being used by Joker. And a part of her authority that she has with the thugs, too, is stemmed from what? Joker's threat. The threat of Joker, right? If the thugs don't listen to Joker, and she, basically, what is she? She leads in place of Joker when Joker's not around, or, he's busy, whatever. Instead of it being that she's a boss babe, right? All of Harley's relevance, all of her authority as the character that she is as a woman, comes from directly Joker and the threat of Joker. And obviously, right, if the thugs don't listen to Harley, that means that they're not listening to Joker. So all of that is terrifically well done. Again, how silly and how feminine and how fun Harley's character is something we don't get anymore in gaming today. In all of media, of course. Women are just not fun. They're not feminine. They're not silly. They're not women anymore. They have to be aspiring men. They're all feminist characterizations. What should women be in gaming? How did this game do it? Right? They're supportive of the male character. They're attractive. They're sexy. Right? In some ways, right? Supportive of the male character, but also maybe a little bit silly. And being supportive of the male character, right? They're on the male character's storyline. They're on his arc. They're backing him up along the way. They're not the ones leading the sales. They're not the ones saving the male character. And by the way, there's a point in this game about Selina. Okay, no, that doesn't matter. She doesn't necessarily save Batman, but it's like it's woke light when they did that. But that's a whole other like conversation. I don't really want to go into that. How women are meant to be done is that they're supportive of the male character, they're along for the ride, but they're not the ones making the core decisions, and they're not the ones with the core responsibility of the story. They're backing up the male as he is the one that is responsible for the entire storyline's conflicts, right? And whatever the mission is, the goals are. And the women in this game, they're completely designed that way. And again, what are women supposed to be like? Supportive, sexy and attractive and feminine. And they're not supposed to be pursuing after any means, by the way, no pursuit of any career, any kind of like destiny goals or whatever. The women have no long-term goals, right? When you make proper women in gaming or any media form, they don't have these aspirations like a man does for legacy, right? For having a destiny, and by the way, because it's not realistic. In real life, women do not aspire towards great means, and they will not go through all the suffering and the pain that a hero must go through to achieve great means and great ends, right? To overcome great odds. There's something that no woman will ever do, and they've never done throughout history. That's why you don't write female characters to be like men, because they are not like men. They will support and back up a man, but that man ultimately is the one that achieves his means and his ends on his own through his methods. And he will go through the suffering of what it takes. Women will not. Women prefer comfort. It's just an ingrained difference between men and women. And when you try to make women like men, or you try to give women the same relevance or the same authority or you try to give them the same bounds of any kind as a man, that's when you've destroyed everything. You have subverted the female character's femininity. Great example of this, of what I'm talking about, is Aerith. Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, specifically from the remake. She doesn't sit around, aspiring towards masculine ends or, like, oh, I have this career going on, Cloud. Sorry, I can't hang out with you. Or, sorry, Cloud, I don't know, like, I'm trying to, like, become a master warrior of some kind. That's not a female character. That's a woman trying to be like a man, right? Penis envy, as far as I would concern it. That's penis envy. Of course, there's different layers of what penis envy is. Women who exist in contempt of men. That is what we get nowadays. But a character like Aerith and Tifa, they're not in contempt of a character like Cloud. They're supporting Cloud and what his burden of performance and responsibility is within the world of Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? I'm specifically talking about that because they did a great job of expressing those two women and their femininity. You get something very similar with the characters of Harley Quinn and Catwoman here. And although I could make some nitpicks here and there, overwhelmingly, that's the kind of quality behind those two women in this game. And so anyways, moving on from that point, this game, dude, overwhelmingly, though, is written and it's directed and it's created in a way that, without a doubt, I could say, like, this was back when the gaming industry was not overrun by a bunch of liberals. Liberals were not, given preferential treatment or whatever, and you had all the conservatives being ran out of the industry. No, this was back when games were still being designed by a good mixture. And let's just be honest, it's the conservatives who made any of these games great, and it's any traditionalist kind of method or any kind of traditionalist theme or concept that's ever placed into these products that makes them good. Obviously, there's some angles of wokeness that kind of shows up here and there throughout the game, but it's not a lot. And there's certain points in the game where it's like, man, if the liberals really had their way, they could really have their way with like this certain point that's made here or that certain argument there. You know, like at one point I was wondering to myself if Quincy Sharp was supposed to be a Rudy Giuliani, because for a long time the left has not liked Rudy Giuliani. So I was wondering if maybe they were trying to make a comparison between Quincy Sharp and Rudy, but I don't know. You know, and all it is just to be in spite of conservatives. But for the overwhelming part, they don't pull any wokeness. I just saw a couple of points where it's like, if they really wanted to go woke, right there, they could have pushed a woke point. Or, you know, maybe under the hood, they could have intended it. But over, you know, the parts where I saw like, oh man, it could seep in right there, right? Again, it doesn't go anywhere. This is through and through. This is just a great story. They don't pull any ideological bullcrap. It is silly, right? As I said previously, it is silly that I did notice a lot of the cops or cop adjacent characters, a lot of them are black, and for some reason they made a lot of the thugs white. In difference to the previous game where they made half and half black and white on the thugs. You know, it's a different level of wokeness that we used to get, where it's like we can't represent demographics in a way that's too realistic, or else we're going to offend people and they're going to lose their heads, their minds, and just go crazy. So we have to, right, let's be safe, and let's just make more of the black guys cops, and let's make more of the criminals, let's make them white dudes, all, you know, for the most part, right? And that's just them being safe with the demographics. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like it, but again, that's a nitpick for everything that they do well with this game. It's a nitpick at the end. What would I have to give this game, by the way? When I really look at everything put together, I would argue that this game is a good, for me, personally, subjectively, the way that I experienced this game is a 10 out of 10. This game did so many things right. It landed so many things. It set up so many things that you just don't get anymore. They understand the value. They are aware of their own value. And they understand what they are writing. And again, all the jam-packed quality that is put into this game. This was a labor of love, and they put so much work into this game. It is more than worth anyone's dollar. This is what gaming, right, is meant to be. Now, however, I will say, of course, when I look at the story, it meanders a little bit. And one of the ways that it meanders is that this, or maybe it's not meandering exactly, that's probably an incorrect word, right? But it's a story that's set within the world of Gotham, right? And it's authentic to the world of Gotham. One of the issues, though, with the story is that it's completely held up by the characters. The plot is not very sophisticated. It's not very complex. When you look at a story like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, those are stories that have an entire purpose, an entire point. Every moment, it's leading up to something that has an ultimate purpose, right? It has a lot of substance that it's trying to deliver by the end. And that's through both the prequels, the originals, and that's through all of Tolkien's work. The problem with this story is that it's not saying anything specifically for the sake of the world of Gotham. It's not trying to say anything explicitly through Batman's character. Again, as I said, in the end of this game, it seems like they're very afraid to even give any depth to what is Batman's mindset, what is his ethos, what is his entire methodology. You don't know. He does not prove, or he does not describe himself what his convictions are. And I don't even know what Batman's convictions really are, besides what I know the spirit of the character is. So right, I have to give that to them. They honor the spirit of Batman, but they don't add a lot of depth to the spirit of Batman, especially with this story. So I don't know why, in the end, I don't really know why Batman really did anything that he did, besides the fact that it's in the spirit of Batman to just save Gotham, right? And that's why I have to give that criticism. It's the story really isn't about much. It's held up by the characters, and really it is about the characters. You invest into the story because of the characters, not because of the world and not because of the plot. But again, that's me being hypercritical. This is a great story, especially for compared to what we're getting nowadays. This is a terrific story. It honors the characters so well, keeps you engaged all throughout. Joker's done great. There's so many layers of quality all throughout the entire time of dialogue. All of the dialogue is great. Seriously, I can't think of anywhere it's not well done. And if I really wanted to criticize this game even further, I could bring it down to an 8 out of 10, right? Because of the story, and my criticisms, I could give it a 9 out of 10. But if I wanted to go a little bit further, some of the side missions to like experience more of the villain characters, right? Deadshot, for instance, Victor Zsasz, Azrael, those are whatever, if they're villains or anti-heroes. My issue was that there's so much busy work just to get the quality of seeing more of these characters, and ultimately the side missions are just busy work, run around, do a not really kind of a laboring chore more than anything that's gameplay. They could have made it more immersive. They could have put more quality into the experience of the side missions, but the side missions overwhelmingly are not terrible. It's just that's a nitpick, and that would bring it down to an 8 out of 10 if I were giving it a score. But overwhelmingly, man, right? When I ended the game, it does land home with you, right? The relationship between Batman and Joker, they kind of have this, I don't know if the right term is, but right, it's like this kind of like platonic or this like archetypal love, kind of like a love between order and chaos kind of love. You know, it's not homosexual bullcrap, but you know, like Joker loves Batman as if it's like Batman is a piece of Joker. Like who Batman is and who Joker is, they both discipline each other. They both give each other direction to be who they are. Joker's maniacal villainy and sort of mastermind tendencies as a villain is all based within and disciplined by, right? He refines his methods and his schemes by fighting Batman, and Batman refines his crime fighting ways, right? And defeating criminals and villains through fighting Joker. So that's kind of the love that they have for each other, is that they complete each other. They define each other functionally and archetypally by who they are as men through how they engage, right? So it's not really a brotherly love. It's not really a fatherly love, but it's a weird, what could you say it's like? It's definitely in a weird way. It's like an adversarial love. Anyways, I love what they do with the characters from Arkham Asylum and City between Batman and Joker, because they have this great relationship, and their relationship is honored through who they are as men. And I just know through the lens of modern day weirdos, they would love to act like Joker and Batman are in some way like homosexual. Again, that is the clown world we're in. Again, they are much more brotherly in an adversarial way, more than anything. And I love the relationship between Batman, Catwoman, Harley, Joker, and I love the way that Harley speaks towards Batman. I also have to say, by the way, they do also a great job of just cameoing for a certain period of time. They brought in Robin, and Robin's character, he's also great. He doesn't look like a freaking twink. He looks like freaking Robin, right? He looks like a freaking man. He looks like the apprentice of Batman. And I don't know if I'm going to make a separate video on it. I'm just going to quickly burn through it though. All of the DLC is great. For one, it adds a ton of quality, right? After you finish this game, there's so much to do after. There's so many little challenge missions you can do, challenge little fights. There's so much content to interact with. And if you have the DLC, which if you buy Return to Arkham, right, you will have the DLC. And that's what we're reviewing, is Return to Arkham here. Nightwing and Robin are so much fun to play as, bro. They're freaking awesome, right? It's awesome to play as Batman. You feel like Batman in this game. It's so good. Again, all the tools, all the gadgets, all the ways you can utilize the combat system, it's amazing. Robin and Nightwing, though, they have their own little intricacies. They literally created all their own little gadgets it's less gadgets than Batman, but they gave them their own gadgets, and they have their own little dynamics with those gadgets. They have their own execution, their own takedown moves. They have their own attacks. There's so much uniquity brought to Robin and Nightwing when you play as them. It's great, man. Yeah, see, this Harley outfit is great. Yeah, the way that through the DLC, those guys are so great to play as. Catwoman's also great, you know, the way that she fights in her own way. And the fact that they made her fight in a sexy way is just, again, this sort of labor of love that we got out of this game, you don't get anymore. So the DLC is really well worth it. It's very short, the Harley Quinn DLC. And I don't know if I'll make another video for it, but the way that they go into Harley Quinn's character and how she's grieving Joker, she's not becoming a feminist in grieving over Joker. No, she's obsessed about him. She's got thugs who are making moves on her, being like, you know, hey, do you want to hang out sometime, blah, blah, blah. But she's not taking it. And she's just completely wrapped in the grief of losing Joker. That is Harley's character. She does not sacrifice her femininity because she loses Joker. No, she's still in love with Joker even when he's freaking dead. And she's hung up about him. They do her character so much justice here. And she's silly. She's fun. She does silly, funny things. And the ways that she communicates, the things that she says. And I cannot say it enough. I love how the writers were not afraid to say offensive things with the characters, and it's because they just weren't woke. Quickly, I can see, like, in the credits, I saw a lot of female names, so I understand how quickly Rocksteady has now become woke, right? Because even back then, right, back before they released this game, and as of the time they released this game, they didn't have women predominantly working on this project. It was made by overwhelmingly men, but they were getting invaded at that time. So I kind of get how Rocksteady has fallen at this point, because now, right, how many women are freaking making the Rocksteady games? You know, go figure. Go figure why these games have no quality anymore, and why this game has so much great quality jam-packed into it. And it's because they hired a bunch of women, and now, dude, these characters are all deconstructed. They're all torn apart. Everyone's ugly. Everything's just stupid and terrible. You're not immersed in the world of Arkham. It's so bad. It's so bad what they've done. Just looking at Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, it's so bad, man. So anyways, I don't know. I might make a Harley Quinn DLC review, but that's just my thoughts about all the DLC, dude. It's so good. It had so much more content. I don't know how much it originally cost, what the price was originally, but it comes with this game. So overwhelmingly, it's very short. It's not a ton of content, but it's great quality content. It's very true to these characters. So anyways, that's it. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for joining me on this video. If you have not experienced this game, freaking pick up Arkham City and also Arkham Asylum. This is peak Batman right here. All right, I'll catch you on the next video.